If you were trying to look at this report, possibly from a commission standpoint, and you needed to exclude the production charges, you could actually click this button, and now we're seeing only numbers that are net numbers minus the production charges. Okay? It may be helpful. It may not. Again, we went over this report a little bit in our last training, but every time I've been selecting something, you can see I've actually been selecting apply filters to the data. If for some reason I just want to see the line items that are interested in this particular status, I could just highlight the matches. And now as I scroll through the report, my bright yellow lines will stand out to me. Okay. So I know yesterday there was some discrepancies between the ad manager's reports they were pulling and the report that a sales rep was pulling. It was causing some friction, and so we found that this orders by issue report was probably the most useful report for both the ad managers and the sales reps to pull to actually compare orders in an issue. If that makes sense. Okay. I'm going to just scroll through the chat real quick and see if I missed any, or if you guys want to speak up if I missed your question. We've got Rick's question we're going to go over. Let's see. Connie, or what are those tools? Kill orders with totals. Be sure to fix the sort. So what Connie mentioned is in this report, it appears that the killed orders were in a particular report, so you'd want to make sure you left those out. Okay. So are there any questions about the reports we've gone over so far, the pinpoint, the groups, or this orders by issue? Or any questions about reports in the system you're having trouble with or you'd like to see in the system? Okay, because what we're going to move on to next is the Informer section. And as I start talking about Informer, I will try to breeze over it as quickly as possible for, not as quickly as possible, but as briefly as possible for people who just want to run reports, and then take some of those questions. And then if someone who really wants to be able to build some specific reports or find some specific data, maybe Rick or some of your power users want to stay on, we can go in and talk about how you really build your own reports. But it may be too much work for a lot of you who have a lot on your plate and don't need to go in and build these specific reports. So if we've got any questions about reports you want to run daily or reports you've been having trouble with, now's a good time to do that, because the next part of this training we didn't get into is pretty detailed. Great.
Our group is most interested in digital reporting.
Okay. The good news is all of the reports I've shown you so far are both print and digital. Or I'm sorry, this is orders by issue. This is the first report so far I've shown you that's not digital. Okay? Both of the other reports can be used for digital. All right? If you wanted to run a similar report to this in digital, at the bottom there is an orders by website. Now, it doesn't have the filters that the print version of this does. It is something that the group yesterday asked about as well, and I'm going to look into. I'm not sure why we don't have the same filters at the top of this, but you will see that there are no filters, but this is the same report. You would select a website, starting and ending dates, and run the report, and it would pull up all orders that matched that criteria at the top. So you would be able to select multiple digital publications if you liked in this report as well. Where are the digital dollars reporting for revenue or billing amount? Billing amount, I'm not sure. Revenue, you could pull up the revenue for this publication here. But if you were really just looking to view revenue for a particular digital publication over time, you could run a 12 period by advertiser or 12 period by website, by rep, and actually see the revenue over time. If you just wanted to see the digital orders for an issue, this is the report I would suggest, orders by website. And then you would be able to determine whether or not you're looking for confirmed, which would be billed or running orders, reserved orders, which would be credit hold or quoted orders. Sorry, reserved would be confirmed or credit hold orders, and then quoted would be your actual queue status orders for digital. It's a little bit different than print. So your digital reports are in the same place under this advertising analysis tab. The print orders come first, and then below that we've got the same reports by website and the orders by website. And of course, these reports we talked about at the bottom, production group and pinpoint, can be combined. Okay. Did you guys want to see us actually run one of these digital reports? Yeah. So the first one we'll run, let's see, let's find the Packer. Let's select the date range. I'm just going to select the whole month of February, so we'd probably be looking at 4 issues of the Packer. Oh, this is a website, so this is good. So we're just looking at the February run on the Packer. And what I've now pulled up is all of the campaigns that are associated with the February month of the Packer website. One of the things you will notice on this report is that this is actually showing you the entire amount of the campaign and not the amount of the campaign that ran between this period of time. And the last time we saw this report, I know Rick noticed this immediately, I believe. This is actually something that is in this version of the software that we have later changed in future versions of the software to show you only the estimated amounts that appear between that date range. Unfortunately, the way this is written currently, that change can't be put back into this version. So as it is currently, you would actually have to drill into each one of these campaigns to see the revenue that falls between these dates. So a more effective report might be to actually run your pinpoint analysis report, but to use a digital publication, if that makes sense. So this report is not actually showing you the estimated amounts and actual quantities for this period of time. It's showing you the entire campaign quantity of campaigns that ran during this period of time. So it may not be as helpful if you were trying to look at a total down here at the bottom. Okay? So I know that was a question that was asked last time, and I was also curious, and as it turns out, we have changed this, but it can't be fixed the way this version of the digital module was written. Okay? So another one of the digital reports we might run is this 12 period by advertiser by website. What we can do here, again, is we can drill into a digital publication. Select the start date. Click my enlarge refresh button. And now what I'm getting is the revenue per advertiser over that period of time. Here are the totals for that advertiser, and here are the totals by month. So this may actually be a more useful report because you are still getting the total by month, but you are also getting the total by advertiser. And it's by period in this report, not by month. So it's actually going to be the reporting period. Okay. Not sure why this net revenue graph isn't here, but find out. Net graph. Okay. So those are a couple of the digital reports you might run. If you're just looking for your information, I want to click back to this advertising rep summary page just one more time, kind of where we started. Because if you're actually only looking for information that's pertinent to you as a salesperson, this advertising rep summary screen is actually going to have most of the information you likely need. If you're running reports based on an entire issue or all reps, those other reports are probably of use to you. But really, this rep summary page is going to have all the publications and all the websites that are helpful to you, sorted out by this issue and coming issues, and sorted into statuses that might be useful: confirmed, reserved, quoted, and all. Okay? Any other questions on what we've run so far? Or do you guys want me to run some more digital reports for the protein group? I know we've got a couple of different groups in the room still, so if I'm just running too many Packer reports or not enough for another group, please let me know. Okay. So the next thing we do want to talk about then is this thing I keep talking about called Informer. If I click back to the main menu of Elan, on your screen you should have a button that looks like an apple, and below it, it says Informer Reporting. If I click Informer Reporting, it should take me directly into Informer. If for some reason it stops you at a login screen, it is the same login you use to log into Elan. Okay? As soon as we log into Informer, you are going to notice it looks a bit different than Elan. So the first thing we're going to just cover really quick is the layout of Informer, so you can find things that might be useful to you. Along the left side of the screen, you're going to see a few filters. Okay? The first filter you're going to see is this My Favorites list. The way you add something to your favorites list is the same way you would in Elan. If you see these stars next to a report, you can actually see I can click a star and unclick a star. If the star is gold, it's a favorite. If it's not, it will not be found in my favorites filter. Okay? You're going to ignore this data source. You've only got one. Below that, you're going to see some filters by tags. The reports we've created in the system are going to be separated out by module. So for you guys, the tag that's going to be most useful to you is this AD tab, which stands for Add. Okay? If you're in accounting or using some billing reports, you may be interested in AR tab. If for some reason you have actually had some reports completed custom for you, you may have your own tab. You can see Connie has a tab here. Zach actually has his own tab here at the bottom. We've got some other names in here you might recognize. Okay? By clicking any one of these, narrow down the reports we see in the middle of this screen. I am going to start in my favorites tab because I've starred some reports here. If for some reason I actually know the name of a report I'm looking for, I can use this search bar above my report, and as I type into it, it's going to narrow down the reports by the word I'm typing in. Okay? actually going to go back to all sets. I remember I ran this yesterday, and I need to go find this different report. You can see there are a lot of reports in the system that are already built, so you may search through some of these and see if any of them are useful to you.
We're trying to get an accurate number for digital in what we bill and when we bill it, and we're having trouble creating that in Informer.
Okay. Let's see. So are you finding that there's actually things on it that there shouldn't be?
Well, it's duplicating. We want to pull from the billing amount, not the revenue amount, because we want it reported monthly like we actually bill it. And it just repeats it over and over and over, the numbers.
So the campaign line is repeated multiple times?
I don't know if it was the campaign line or just the revenue. I think everything.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, so there's one thing that is probably going to fix this for you, very simply. Inside a report, there's an idea of normalizing a report. So I'll just show you this real briefly, and then we'll kind of go back into my spiel, but we'll try to fix this for you real quickly. If you're getting multiple data in a line such as this, where this unit price field is, you can see the number is repeated 3 times. If I didn't want that to appear repeated in this one line, I could normalize the data. So when I'm actually customizing a report, I'm going to go into this User Settings tab, and I can go to Normalize, and I can actually determine that I want to normalize the report. So unit price is the only multi-valued field I have. I'm going to normalize that. And then when I run this report, this field will be separated into line items, and it shouldn't be repeated. I'm not sure exactly, I'm trying to see which report you guys are running on my other screen.
Brandon, it's
Yes.
not that the information is duplicated within a line. In 2013, we put our campaigns in like a full year, so we had a 12-month campaign, and say it had 3 lines on it. It's creating a line for each one of those. So instead of making a 12, breaking it out into 12 lines, one for each month for the total, it is taking that and it is breaking it out into 36 and making 36 lines. Instead of, total by the month, it's breaking it and repeating the total of the campaign on there.
Why don't we just run the report so we can get a view?
Yeah.
Wasn't that under Connie's reports, I believe?
Yeah, I think it's one of Connie's reports that it does that on. Isn't that right, Con? Yeah, it's one of Connie's digital reports.
Let's see.
It might be under the Add History one, but I'm not sure. I had a digital one and an Add History one. Yeah, I'll start with Connie, :
This one? Section comparison?
No,
Let's see.
it's a digital one. Yeah, I'll start with Connie and then a :
Okay, let's see.
She may have not tagged all to herself.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll go back to all.
Probably not.
All tags. Oops. If I could type with one hand.
Yeah, there's an internet report there.
Yeah, there it is.
Let's see what I've got.
Use PKRW there.
PKRW?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll need to use 2013 data on that.
Okay.
Because we've changed the way that we entered the information for 2014, so it might not break it, but 2013 will definitely break it.
Okay.
Might have to open that range up a bit.
Let's get some orders here. Come on. In data after. Let's see. And it is PKRW. That should be the correct pub code.
Yeah, that's PKRW's Hacker Web, right, Connie?
Correct.
Shouldn't matter, but try to get some data here. So
All right, well, why don't we come back to this before we lose everyone?
yeah, absolutely. So I really need to look at that specific report. Connie, we may need to look at that. If the data was entered differently because of how the digital module was structured before, it may be something where I have to talk to a programmer and see if we can create something custom. I don't know. I would need to look at the data and see if I can help fix this in Informer. There may be an option, but I may have to get someone involved. But yeah, definitely point me in the direction of that report, and let's try to get that fixed for you guys. Okay?
Okay.
And it may be one of those things where you have to run the report in one way now that you have the data different, and in one way going back. That makes sense, since the data is actually in different structures. Okay? So just generally, you saw me clicking around some of these things. Once I click into a report, the first thing I'm going to see is what the report's made of. It may not be as useful to me. More likely what I'm going to want is to actually launch the report. If I launch the report, I'm actually jumping into the same screen. I'm just jumping into this data tab rather than the report template. So I can actually click between these at the top of my screen here. And as you saw before in my data tab, I can run these by the criteria that's here. So if you're just running a report, you likely want to hop in, find your report, click launch, enter your criteria, launch report, get your data. Okay, let's see if I can actually get some data with this. Okay. Let's run a print report, because that's what I ran earlier as an example, so I can show you how the sorting functions work. So it doesn't matter which report we're using, the general functions of these all act the same. So I'm just clicking over to the data tab again. I'm going to pick out a publication. I'm going to select the date range. I'm going to launch my report. And now we've got some data. From this screen, there's actually several things I can do. Right now, I'm only looking at one particular issue. But if I have chosen multiple issues, and I relaunch this report, I may want to look at multiple issues at a time, but then I may want this report to actually sort them by that issue. To sort a column or group a column, all I need to do is take a column header and drag it into drag group here. What it's done is it has actually grouped those packers by their issue dates. I can then drill into each one of those issues and view them separately. If I wanted to see some totals on these information, I would use this aggregate option. And I can actually go in and select what I would like to see totals for. You can now see there is a net amount total on my screen, and each one of these issues is actually broken up and has a net amount total on each one. That's the basic ways of navigating a report, grouping a column. You can group as many columns as you like. It may be useful to you once you've run a report that you actually want to change the report slightly to fit your needs. In our next tab, User Settings, you can actually come in and edit this report, save it to your specifications, and then you can have this every time you come in. You didn't have to create a new report, but this report runs in the way you. Okay. You may find it useful to not just set up user settings, but to actually set up a schedule for this report. If this is a report you have to run every month or every week, and you'd like to actually have this report scheduled and sent out so that you don't actually have to come in and run it, we can actually set up a schedule for reports. Now, if you're setting up a schedule for a report, it is important to remember that if the dates in that report are static, that it's not very useful. So if, for instance, if I put January 1st and January 31st in here, every time this report runs, it's going to go out and grab January. But there are some things we can type into these fields that make this so that we can schedule it. There are some keywords I can send over to you guys if you find this useful. Things like beginning of month and end of month. So every time I run this report, I want it to go out and find the beginning of the month, the end of the month, and then run the report based on those dates. Once I've set the report to schedule, I can then have that report emailed out to someone, emailed out as an Excel file, a PDF file, anything I want. This may be of interest to you guys. It may be more of interest to Zach, but I could also have this file simply export to a location. So if this is a report we have to run every month and my boss goes and grabs it off of a place on our local drive, I could have this export to a server location where it could then be grabbed. The last option here, I'm not sure how much you'll use, but this is Live Excels. That's where you actually export this report to Excel, and it actually links back to the live data in Informer. So you can actually open up the Excel spreadsheet and refresh the data. And when you do that, it will actually go out and run the same report you did before and just refresh the data within that report. Okay? So I know we have some questions about addressing the digital reporting specifically. Are there any questions about how Informer works? Anything you have a question of what it can do? I know I went over this pretty quickly, but I was trying not to lose the whole crowd because this can be a little too much.
Hey, Brandon, this is Greg.
Hey, Greg.
Sometimes when I try to export these reports on an Excel spreadsheet, it doesn't allow me to do it. And then what I have to do is I have to log in again, and then it allows me to export it on an Excel spreadsheet. Do you know why I have to log out and then log back in?
I don't. Unless it's something where it's timed you out of Informer and not let you know. Is it after a long, like have you been building the report? Is it after a long period of time, or is it like you're going in, you run the report, and then you have to log out and back in?
Yep, exactly. It's immediately after I run the report, I try and export it, and it doesn't allow me. But if I log out, do it again, then I can export it.
Okay. No, that's strange. Let me, I'll do some testing on your system after this call. That may be something we need to get fixed. But no, that doesn't sound like something that should be happening.
Yeah, maybe it's a version of something I have on my laptop. I'm not sure, but that'd be awesome.
Sure. Yeah, I'll check that out. If I can't find anything, I'll reach out to Zach and maybe get some specifics on a report that it's happening to you, and we can see if I can make it happen again. If I can repeat it, then I can pass it on to programming and see if they can fix it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greg, when you log out next time, can you hit F5 at the home page and do a hard refresh?
Okay.
It's possible there's an older version that's loaded.
So do I have to do that every time I create a report?
No, just one time. Just one.
Okay.
Just next time. See if that helps anything.
All right.
Yeah, it could be what Zach's mentioning. It could be that something's cached in there that's working correctly but wasn't at one point. And so if you do that hard refresh, it should empty that out, and we can try again fresh. So any other questions about some things you might want to run in here? There's a lot I can go into about showing you calculated columns, creating calculated columns, actually creating links in a report. But if it's not something that sounds super useful to you, try not to cover it, because I know we've already talked for so many hours that I want you to only have to listen to what is going to be useful to you. Okay. I do want to talk about, you guys have created some of your reports, obviously already, but I do like to mention this. If you're creating a lot of new reports, this mapping field is the most important field when you're starting to create a report. So I just like to mention this to people. What this is saying is, which part of the system do you want to reach out to and grab the data from? Typically, you're going to want to look for add issue, but I also find add orders and user reports, which is the very last one. The user reports contains a lot of data from the CRM and the add module in it, so this may be very useful. The reason I mention this so...
I think we actually got a bunch of, I think we actually have the other reports linked to the user reports as well, because we wanted more fields in the user reports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is the way you'll find most of it, that add orders is linked to user reports, so you can access a lot of that information. So I only mention this because if you do happen to find one of these where it doesn't link to that user reports or doesn't link to some data, and you have to come back in and change this, it does reset everything you've done in the report, which can be a little frustrating. So this is the most important decision you make when you're actually creating a report from scratch, which is why I actually recommend finding reports you like, going into user settings, and actually saying copy as a new report, which you'll find in the corner here. So if you like this report but you're wanting to edit it significantly or add fields to it, you may just come in, find this report, copy it as a new report, and then you'll be able to actually go in and edit this information that you find on this screen. Okay? Can you, Rick is asking if you could run the year-over-year advertiser report from here. Rick, that's something we're actually going to have to create. It's a report we call a two-pass report, because it reaches out and passes one issue and then another issue in the system. It is something we've created before, but it is not a stock report in Informer. So it's something we actually have to go in and create. But I know I was talking to another client about this the other day, and I am in the process of trying to get one of these created. Once I do, we could come back over and put it into your system. Now, if there's some specific things you would like on that report, what would be great is if you could send those to Zach, and when I create this report, we could add those specific fields you're looking for to it. But I would actually have to build that report out, and I'm sure you guys don't want to watch me sit here and build that report. Okay? So that's kind of the end of the general Informer spiel. I know we've got a couple of questions that I can't specifically answer at this moment, so I apologize for that. I do want you guys to make sure I'm going to follow up with you on that digital report if you can get me some data of how you're running it. I want to make sure we get that fixed for you. And Rick, again, if you can get that data on what you would like to see in that year-over-year report, I can find that in the system or build that in Informer for you. Okay? I know after this, Zach and I are going to hop back into the system and actually record part of the training from earlier. So if anyone's interested in listening to me for another 20 or 30 minutes, go over pinpoint analysis again, you are welcome to. But otherwise, I think we are, we're to the end of what I've looked at here. Sorry, Connie's asked the question. She's tried running some of the available internet reports and Informer, and none of them run. It's interesting. I was finding I wasn't getting data back from the internet reports either. I'm going to look into that. There may be a flag that Informer is not reaching out to your digital module. If you guys have gotten data back before, it's very strange that it's not working now, but I was also having the same issue, Connie. So it's something I need to find out what's going on. Okay. Have you guys have run those digital reports before and gotten data back, correct? Obviously.
Yeah, in our previous.
Yes, that's where we had the multiple lines.
Okay.
We did get information from the print reports, didn't we?
The print reports,
the print was working.
Back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still use the print
reports.
reports.
Get any data back from. So yeah, that's. I'm going to pop into that after we get off here and see if all the Informer flags are connected to the system correctly, and we'll get a ticket log for that, Zach.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. Well, if there's no more specific questions, Zach, I think I'll wait on here for a few minutes, see if people want to ask some questions later or go over anything specific, and then we can start that recording of the pinpoint analysis again.
Sounds good. Give people a few minutes to think of anything, and if they don't have anything, we will move on.
Great. Everyone, I know you had to listen to me for a long time today. Thank you very much for all your input. And look forward to speaking with you guys as we work through some of these issues.
Brandon, where would that be under? I'm in administration, and I do not set up.
Are you talking about Informer?
Yeah, for Informer.
It's actually in the SB client side. So I'm going to have to log into your back end. Yeah. Make sure the flags are set right. It should be. It's only one flag, and if it's pulling print, I don't know why it wouldn't be pulling digital. So
yeah, same.
I'm probably going to have to get with a programmer about that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. If it's pulling print, there shouldn't be any problem pulling webs.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, both would be broken there, but I'm checking on it right now.